Shalom, this is Melech Ben Yaakov of Biblical Life Coaching, coming to you live from Marrakesh, Morocco. We spent the past 2 weeks or so traveling around Morocco, visited some amazing places, Casablanca, Rabat, Meknes, Fez, a town called Ifran, which is up in the mountains and looks like a French village made by the French colonialists during the colonial period in the early to mid-1900s. At any rate, now we're back in Marrakesh, and I'd like to talk to you today. I'd like to talk to you today. Oh, let's try that one more time. There we go. I'd like to talk to you today about a very important topic. And that is, I just cannot overemphasize how important this topic is. And this is the topic of staying centered, okay? When you go to a lot of life coach advice, self-help types of books or circles, meetings, gatherings, the constant word that's mentioned is mindfulness. It's a very in word these days, and it means not walking through life blindly, not being on autopilot, not doing without thinking, but focusing, but staying aware that you are a soul within a body, staying aware of the presence of your soul. And that's nice, and it's very important. And what I'd like to do in biblical life coaching is of course give it a Tanakhic twist, or Tanakhic emphasis, a Tanakhic perspective, since that's what biblical life coaching is all about. I'll move around a little bit, as I usually do. So first let's talk about this idea of staying centered or remaining mindful. And it's extremely important because as we go through our daily life, there are so many things that throw us off kilter. Something happens and we start getting scared or worried or angry. Angry's a big one. Anger's a big one. We start getting angry, and suddenly we're completely thrown off our center, and we're on autopilot. And we're not even thinking of the words that are coming out of our mouths, the things we're doing. It's just completely, the train goes right off the tracks. The wheels fall off the wagon, and the wagon collapses. It's just we fall off the wagon. So it's very important. It's very important to stay mindful, to stay centered, and it's impossible to eliminate those periods of when one goes off the rails, when one walks through life blindly, when one is not thinking, when one is not aware of the presence and the beauty of their eternal soul within their body, and loses track of their mission in life because the kids have pissed them off, or because someone in the supermarket has shortchanged them by mistake, or whatever the case may be. So it's impossible to eliminate that, but what we want to do is minimize it, and what we want to do is when we get off track is to get back on track as soon as possible. Okay, if we've lost our mindfulness, if we've lost our centeredness, then okay, fine. Again, as I've mentioned in other videos, we're human beings. We have to accept our flaws and our limitations of human beings. Yehowah, God, certainly accepts our flaws and our limitations as human beings, and so we have to be forgiving of ourselves, that we're not in a state of perfection at all times. Okay, so that being said, I wrote an article many years ago on my website, Karaite Insights, which is called "The Soul, the Breath, and the Name of Yehowah." And I'm not going to run through the article. I'll post a link to it at the end of the video. But one of the main points that I would like to say, or that I wanted to say in the article, and that I would like to say today, is the idea that at any time we can focus on our breath. okay? The breath is an extremely important thing. The breath is the first thing, or one of the first things we do when we come out of our mother's womb, and it's the last thing we do before we die. And if you've never noticed before, the breath is kind of, it's kind of pacing out the beat of life, okay? Every moment, no matter what you're doing, whether you're sleeping, whether you're eating, whether you're doing sports, whether you're working, whatever the case may be, you're breathing. And most of the time you don't even notice it. And that makes it a perfect metaphor for being mindful and being centered. It's something that's constantly going on. It's something that we're constantly doing, and that most of the time we don't even pay attention to, okay? Well, it's a great tool. Sorry, let me just switch hands here. It's a great tool for retaining or regaining mindfulness, okay? Because at any time what we can do is we could just stop, we could focus on our breath. It's always there, right? If our breath is not there, we're dead. Well, maybe for 3 or 4 minutes we're not dead, but after that, if we're not breathing, we're pretty much dead, okay? So it's always there. It's our constant companion. It's our constant accompaniment is our breath, okay? So at any time if we find ourselves, the kids have pissed us off, or something went wrong, or we're worried about something, we're worried about running out of money, or we're fearful of what might happen, at a certain meeting next week, or whatever the case may be, at any time we could just stop and we could just focus on our breath. I'm going to do it right now. It's very easy and it's very intuitive, and it really, let me just turn around here because I think the light in the background is making it focus kind of weird. It's very easy and it's very intuitive, and it's always there for us. It's there as a constant aid, okay, to focus on the breath. If you find yourself getting off track, you find you've already gotten back on track, and suddenly you say, oh my God, I just lost my temper. How did I do that? I promised myself I was not going to lose my temper again. Let me get back on track, okay? The breath. Now, you notice when you're breathing normally, you're not breathing too fast, you're not breathing too slow. And I always like to say that the breath, as I said earlier, it marks out, it kind of pounds out the beat of life. It pounds out the natural timing of the world, the natural timing of the universe, the timing that Yehowah wants us to follow. If we're breathing normally and naturally, then we're going at a pace that's not too fast and not too slow. And that's the pace that Yehowah, that God has infused into the world. That's the pace that we should be going at in our lives. And I'm going to talk about this in another video where I speak about slowing down, not too much, but slowing down to the right pace where you don't feel you have to constantly be rushing and constantly be accomplishing all the time as the Western world teaches us to do. And I'll leave that for another video. But what I want to say here is that the breath is so important because it beats out the natural timing of the fundamental vibration, the fundamental rhythm, the fundamental pace, the fundamental beat of the universe that Yehowah, the creator of heaven and earth, has infused into this world, into this universe. And by focusing on our breath and by being cognizant and being aware of our breath, we return to that natural pace. We're not going too fast, we're not going too slow, we're not angry, we're not fearful, we're not worried, we're just in tune with the natural rhythm and the natural pace of the universe. And this is extremely important. This is why many spiritual teachers, self-help types will refer to it as staying centered. You're staying centered. You're going away from all of the craziness around you, from all of the stuff that throws you off your center, and you're using the breath to return to your center. And I do this as much as I can. I'm far from a perfect human being, and I certainly, have all of those, experience all those things: worry, fear, anger, etc. But when I do, I try to say, okay, that's it, stop, enough is enough. Now I go back to the center. I'm going to focus on the breath. Wherever I am, it doesn't matter where you are. You can be in an airplane. You could be in jail. You could be in waiting on a line. You could be waiting. You could be lying in your bed, and always you have your breath with you. That's something that can never be taken away from you until literally or ipso facto until the day you die. Because once your breath is taken away from you, then you are no longer, then you are gone from this world. Okay, so you always have your breath with you to return to and to focus and to remain centered on. Okay, now I'd like to add one more level to this, one more element to this, and that is, excuse me for 1 second, and that is, as I write in the article, again, I'll post a link to the article. It's called the Soul, the Breath, in the Name of Yehowah. And this is something that I discovered or found for myself many years ago, that the name Yehowah is actually representative of our natural breathing, and in sense it becomes the perfect mantra. I don't want to sound too hippy dippy or too new age or anything like that, but it becomes the perfect mantra to focus on to return to our center. And I actually think that there's a strong possibility that the name Yehowah is actually a name which represents the natural breathing cycle or the natural breath of human beings, or maybe of all animals. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Okay, the name Yehowah, which is what I believe is the name of God. There are many different opinions. Should it be Yahweh? Should it be Yehowah? There's all kinds of different opinions out there. I believe it's Yehowah, and I'm going to now incorporate that name into my breathing. So I'm going to say Yehowah. And you'll see that it actually is the sound that you make when you naturally breathe. Because when you breathe, there's a kind of short breath, and then a deep breath, and then an exhale. So watch. Now I won't say the name. I'm just going to breathe. And you can hear 3 stages: short breath, deep breath, and then exhale. And that's perfectly in line with the name Yehowah. The short inhale sounds like, the deep inhale sounds like, and the exhale sounds like, So if you center yourself and you incorporate the name Yehowah into your breathing, then not only are you centering on yourself, not only are you centering back on your soul, not only are you centering back on your essence, not only are you reconnecting with your eternal presence, the fact that you are an eternal soul outside of space and time, within a world of space and time, or projecting space and time onto the world around us. That's another topic which I won't get into right now. But not only are you connecting to that, but you're connecting to the very creator of the world, to Yehowah himself. So you're combining your soul, your eternal soul, plus your connection, or plus the creator of the world, Yehowah. You're combining that together with your breath, which is the link, in a certain sense, between the physical world and the spiritual world, right? There's something very spiritual about the breath. It's very rarefied. It's not, you can't see it. Well, I guess if you're out in the cold you can, but it's a wisp. It's a hevel hevalim, as it says in Ecclesiastes. It's a wisp of air, or a wisp of breath, right? It's not solid. So it's a kind of a connection. Our breath is kind of the connection between the physical world and the spiritual world. So when we are out of whack, when we've lost our momentary consciousness, when we're sleepwalking, when we're on autopilot, when our fears, our worries, our angers have gotten the best of us and we've gotten off track, or when our laziness, our procrastination has gotten the best of us and we're off track, and now we're starting to feel guilty, and we're starting the feelings of guilt and self-loathing and feelings of inadequacy and feelings of inferiority and woe is me, I'm such a useless waste of a person on this planet, I'm lazy and I procrastinate and I get angry and I'm worried all the time. When all of this swirl of emotions that everyone experiences, when it starts to well up inside us, we could just focus on the breath, and that's our connection between the physical world and the spiritual world. This breath being very rarefied air, right? It's not solid, it's not liquid, it's not even it's not even gas, right? The gases are taken in and out, but the breath itself is something beyond that, right? The first thing that was what created Adam, it says that the breath of life. It says this in Genesis 1, it says that the breath of life, or is it Genesis 2? Maybe Genesis 2. At any rate, it says that the breath of life was breathed into the man, and he became a living being. So that's what makes us. That is the connection, and it was Yehowah who breathed the breath of life into Adam to make him into a living being. So it's this breath of life that somehow connects between us, the physical world out there, our eternal souls, and Yehowah, the Creator. So at any time, use that powerful tool, use that powerful part of ourselves that we've been given, the breath, to refocus, to recenter, to suddenly say, stop, enough is enough, okay? I'm going to now refocus, I'm now going to recenter, I'm now going to reattain my consciousness, my awareness, and I'm going to focus on my breath, okay? So stop, and just anywhere you are, you could just focus on the breath. You don't have to breathe deep. You don't have to do any special breathing. If you start focusing on the breath, your breath will naturally regulate itself out and naturally return to its correct timing. So at any time, just focus on the breath. And then incorporate the name of Yehowah into it. At any time, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever you're feeling, you have access to your breath, and you can incorporate the name of Yehowah, and you can recenter yourself, you can regain your centeredness, your mindfulness, and you can understand and you can experience the true power and the mystery of what the breath is, how it's really a connection between our souls, the Creator of the universe, who breathed life into Adam and breathed life into each and every one of us. The fact that it marches out the natural pace, the natural timing, the natural beat of the world, of the universe that Yehowah created. The fact that it is a connection between the external world, ourselves, and Yehowah. The fact that we always have access to it from the moment we're born to the moment we die, by definition. If we're not breathing, then we're not living. Okay? So this is the incredible power of the breath, and this is especially the incredible link that it has between external world, our own bodies, our souls, and the Creator of the universe, Yehowah. Before I finish, let me just think if there's anything else I'd like to say. I think I've said kind of everything that I want to say, so I think I'm going to finish, and I'll just take us out on a little bit more focus on the breath and a little bit more meditation. And when I say meditation, it doesn't have to be some kind of fancy meditation. I'm just saying that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, anyone could do it. Just stop, just focus on your breath, and then if you wish, incorporate also the word Yehowah. I'll end there. Thank you for listening. This has been Melech Ben Yaakov of Biblical Life Coaching, wishing you, if not a great day, then at least a decent day. And speak to you again soon. Shalom, shalom.